Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm running down my top 10 solo board games that I think everyone should play at least once. This video is sponsored by MJ Designs and their new board game Netherwatch, which is currently seeking funding on GameFound. Netherwatch is a cooperative horror deduction game for 1 to 4 players, where you take the role of agents investigating supernatural disturbances. You'll uncover cryptic clues, deduce the identity of your adversary, and then perform a high-stakes banishment ritual, all while managing your health and sanity. The campaign for Netherwatch ends in less than a week, on November 15th, so if you're interested, please go check out their GameFound page. A link is in the description below. Number 10 is Warp's Edge. Warp's Edge is a solo-only bag builder, which is like a deck building game except you add tokens to a bag instead of cards into a deck. I think everyone should play at least one solo-only game because they often feel different from multiplayer games with solo modes. There's a freedom of design that comes from not being shackled to multiple players, and I often find the gameplay experience is more focused. I think Warp's Edge illustrates that beautifully. In the game, you go up against a fleet of minion ships and then one giant mothership, which has unique special abilities. When you either defeat or evade an enemy ship, you get to place a new token into your bag, slowly building up your arsenal of firepower and special abilities. And those abilities differ depending on which ship you play, so there's just so much variety in this little box. Warp's Edge offers such a satisfying, even addictive gaming loop that really captures the spirit of an epic space battle. Bag building is an underused mechanism, it's just so tactile and fun. Check out my playthrough to see it in action. Number 9 is ROVE. ROVE, which stands for Results-Oriented Versatile Explorer, is a puzzly 18-card microgame from Button Shy Games. I really believe that everyone needs to play at least one solo Button Shy game, and it could be really any of them. Sprawlopolis is great, or Naturopolis. The Last Lighthouse has become one of my favorites. There's also a nice cuppa, The Walking Dead Surrounded. I've made playthrough videos for all of these games and several more. ROVE is still my personal favorite, but The Last Lighthouse is a close second. So if you're not into spatial puzzles, then you should maybe try that one. But really, I think it's important for everyone to play a quality micro game in order to experience how much interesting gameplay can be designed using so few cards. It's really remarkable and eye-opening. In ROVE, you have 6 module cards on the table that you must arrange into specific patterns. To do so, you need to spend movement points from cards in your hand. And each module moves in a different way. One can only move one space orthogonally. One can only move diagonally. One pushes other modules. One has to jump over other modules in order to move. And each module has a special ability that you can only use once per game. Creating a specific pattern might be easy in 5 moves, but can you figure out how to do it in 4 or even 3 moves? Often there's a more efficient way, and when you discover the solution, it feels so satisfying. Number 8 is Cascadia. Cascadia is a tile drafting and tile laying game for 1 to 4 players that celebrates the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. This is as good as a gateway or welcoming game gets. Perfect for introducing less experienced gamers into the hobby. But I think everyone should play this kind of game, even hardcore gamers. At first I was tempted to put Harmonies in this spot, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than Cascadia, but that would also work as well. In Cascadia, each turn you draft a terrain tile and animal token from the same column and place them in your personal area. You're attempting to create large regions of the same terrain type, but also place animals in certain configurations to score points. Each animal type scores in a specific way, which can change from game to game. For example, you might need a pair of grizzly bears, or a connected line of Chinook salmon, or solitary red-tailed hawks. This double layer of tile laying creates interesting drafting decisions, and I appreciate how the solo game plays pretty much like the multiplayer game. You simply just remove the right column of tiles before refilling. Number 7 is Cartographers or Cartographers Heroes. Both the original Cartographers and the sequel Cartographers Heroes are flip and write tile laying games, where rather than laying physical tiles on a board, you're drawing in tiles based on random card draws. These days, there are a ton of roll and write or flip and write games, but none of them are as thematic as Cartographers. You play as a map maker charting out a fantasy land, and you actually get to physically draw the map. How fun is that? If you're an artist, you're going to have a blast drawing in little towns and forests and streams. And because you're playing solo, you can take as long as you want to craft your colorful realm. There's no need to rush. Seriously, you should go Google some of the maps that people have made. They're insane. Now, if you're like me and you're not an artist, don't worry. This game is much more than just a fun art project. The tile laying gameplay is top notch. At the beginning of the game, you draw 4 random scoring cards, so you have an A, B, C, and D scoring objective. During the game, you'll score 4 times. First for the A and B objectives, then the B and C, then the C and D, and lastly the A and D. This is great because it means you'll need to pivot to different objectives as the game progresses. And if you time it wrong, you might not be able to score an objective at all. Or maybe you'll ignore one objective on purpose so that you can score more for a later objective. It creates a lot of tension and interesting decisions throughout the entire game. Number 6 is Friday. Friday is an older solo-only deck-building card game that remains one of the most innovative deck-building systems I've ever encountered. Deck building is such an important and ubiquitous mechanism in board gaming, I think everyone should experience how Friday uses it. In Friday, you play as Friday, trying to help Robinson Crusoe get better at surviving on the island. Each turn, you're faced with a challenge number and a number of cards you can play from your deck. For example, the challenge might be, can you get a sum of 3 or more by playing 2 cards? You'll play 2 cards from your deck, and if you succeed, you get to turn the card upside down and add it to your deck, where it'll become a powerful card with a good number and/or a special ability. If you fail, you can keep drawing cards, but each one causes you to lose some health. Or you can accept the loss, lose health, but also get to trash bad cards based on how much health you lost, thus thinning your deck. Deciding when to push for success and when to admit failure is so tricky, and all of this time I have yet to master it. Now, notoriously, this game has been quote-unquote solved, which means that there is a way to mostly guarantee success. I have no idea what the technique is, and I don't want to know. Do not post it in the comments. Maybe one day I'll figure it out, but until then, Friday remains challenging and entertaining. Number 5 is Concordia with the Solitaria expansion. The Solitaria expansion transforms Concordia into a fantastic solo experience in the most surprisingly elegant way you can imagine. That's the main reason I think everyone should try it out. Actually, I'd like everyone to play Concordia, period, at any player count. It's such a perfect medium weight Euro with many mechanisms that you don't see very often. It has what I call a card rondelle. I doubt that's the official name for it. But it's where you discard cards from your hand to take actions, but then you must play a special card in order to get all those cards back into your hand so you can play them again. I also love that the action cards you purchase to add to your hand also give you new ways to score points at the end of the game. That's a really clever mechanism. The solo game simply replaces the main deck of action cards with matching cards that also have actions on them for your solo opponent. So you're still playing the exact same game of Concordia, using cards from your hand to, move people and ships around, spread out across the map, build buildings, buy and trade resources. All of that is exactly the same. But now, using the Solitaria expansion, your solo opponent will also take an action, which is written on the card that you just played. It creates this additional layer to your decision making. It really is one of the most genius solo systems ever developed. And best of all, it works on all the different Concordia maps, making this an essential expansion for this classic Euro game. Number 4 is The Loop. The Loop is a puzzly cooperative deck building game with a wacky time travel theme, colorful illustrations, and a satisfying central cube tower gimmick. Players take the role of time agents with unique special abilities tasked with stopping the evil Dr. Foe from spreading clones throughout history. The theme might be silly, but the design is absolutely brilliant. I want everyone to experience this gem because it's just so criminally underrated. This is one of the best cooperative games and one of the best deck building games ever made, but so few people talk about it. And unfortunately, as far as I know, it's out of print and not coming back anytime soon, if at all, which is a board gaming travesty. I don't know if the quirky art and theme are part of the problem. Maybe people think it's just kind of a silly game for kids or something. I don't know. In reality, the design is razor sharp, and the gameplay is difficult and thinky, filled with comborific card play. You'll use your character's unique deck of cards and special abilities to move around the board through different eras of time, fighting evil clones, cleaning up rifts in space-time, and ultimately trying to complete missions to win the game. If you're clever, you can loop your cards, reactivating them, which can lead to one of my favorite things in all of board gaming, the coveted mega turn, where you use abilities on top of abilities to pull off insane actions. Number 3 is For Northwood. For Northwood is a quick-playing, solo-only trick-taking card game. The idea of a solo trick-taking game sounds so ludicrous, but it actually works brilliantly. And that's why I want everyone to play it. I want them to see that solo design can explore genres and mechanisms far beyond what they might imagine is possible. For Northwood is a puzzly game where each round you're attempting to win an exact number of tricks. There are 8 rounds, and each round you attempt to take a different number of tricks, from 0 to 7. So you look at your starting hand and you say, I don't know, maybe you think you can take 3 tricks. If you succeed, you'll score some points, but you can no longer attempt to take 3 tricks. The next round, you'll need to pick a different number. So by the end of the game, your choices are really limited, and you might have to only take 1 trick with a really strong hand, or vice versa. There's a lot of pushing your luck, taking calculated risks, and also deciding exactly when to use a small pool of special abilities you gain every round. Trick-taking games are incredibly popular right now, and I think For Northwood would be a crowd favorite if more people played solo. Number 2 is The Lost Expedition. In The Lost Expedition, you play the leader of a team of explorers traveling deep into the Amazon rainforest in search of the lost city of El Dorado. I want everyone to play The Lost Expedition because I want them to experience a thematic and immersive card game. Card games rarely feel this intense. Each tarot-sized card is illustrated with striking and evocative artwork, which brings the adventure to life. But also, as you play cards into a sequence, they end up telling a story without, long paragraphs of text. Each round, you arrange 6 event cards in a row, trying to put them in the best order to avoid danger and to advance on your mission. Maybe you hide out from a lightning storm, and then you cross a river full of piranhas, only to discover an abandoned camp. The rules for how you arrange the cards change depending on whether it's day or night, which is a clever twist. This was actually my very first playthrough on the channel, and it stood the test of time for me, because the rules are simple and it plays quickly, but it always manages to provide tough decisions and tense gameplay. And the number 1 solo game I think everyone should play at least once is Final Girl. Final Girl is a solo-only, card and dice-driven survival game that lets you experience whatever horror trope you desire. I've made playthroughs of 3 different scenarios. The first was a take on the supernatural slasher film Nightmare on Elm Street. The second was inspired in part by the excellent monster movie Tremors. And my most recent playthrough, Panic at Station 2891, is a direct homage to my favorite horror film, The Thing. I recommend checking out all of these videos to learn exactly how the game plays. I'll have links in the description below. Final Girl scenarios are not all based on movies, but also TV series, novels, and even fairy tales. Nothing is off limits, and there is something for every taste. But the reason I want everyone to experience this game is because it organically tells a survival horror story better than any other board game I've played. You feel the tension of being the last survivor, standing up against a seemingly unstoppable evil force. That's why this had to be a solo-only game, otherwise it would just kill the theme. You must face the darkness alone. That's true horror. I also want everyone to experience survival gameplay. I know many people will hate the dice. They'll dismiss the rolling to resolve action mechanism as too random. But I'd argue that without the dice, there's no fear. There's no feeling of helplessness that you need in a survival game. As your horror level goes up, you become panicked and start making mistakes, and the dice simulate that perfectly. A survival story is not a strategic or intellectual exercise. It isn't a puzzle to solve. It's about overcoming cruel fate. The fact that Final Girl can achieve this kind of cinematic storytelling with approachable rules and a quick playtime makes it my #1 solo game that everyone should try at least once. And there you have it. Which games did I miss? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, think about subscribing to the channel, or maybe even becoming a member. But there you have it. That is all for me. I'd like to thank all of the financial supporters of Totally Tabled, including the totally radical Dr. Casey, Hextra, Mitch Fisher, John Kohler, Scott Myers, and Jay Satterwhite, as well as the totally bodacious Craig Lindley. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can join on YouTube or my Patreon at www.patreon.com/totallytabled. You'll gain access to my new exclusive podcast, Table Talk, as well as unboxing videos and whatever extra stuff I come up with. As always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.